Almost a year ago to date, I posted a video called What If Fairy Tales Swap Genres, where I turned Little Red Riding Hood into an action story. And although it wasn't my first digital painting that I posted on this channel, it was my first original drawing and story. And the whole concept of that video was redrawing a piece that I had drawn several years prior and see how I would reimagine it after growing a little bit as an artist. And now it's been a full year with me doing digital painting on a weekly basis, and I think it'd be a really cool idea to see how much I've learned and how much I've changed from this one. So let's jump right into it and compare 2023 KyngPin creations to 2024. Let's create some chaos! Right off the bat, I just want to say, full disclaimer, the things that I've worked on the least in the past year have been female anatomy and animal/creature designs. The two things that this artwork entails is female anatomy and creature designs. So using this particular character for my year in review piece was definitely an interesting choice. But as I mentioned, it is the first digital painting episode I posted on this channel, I think. And so I wanted to get like the full mark, like same drawing, same character. How have I grown in the last year? And overall, I think there's a definite improvement, especially between this one and the first one I did, because Blood Red Riding Hood last year was the same concept of I drew this a while ago, here's my version of it now, and now here's my version a year later, pretty much drawing every week. That being said, there are a few areas where I can see I still need to improve. For one, I've definitely gotten the head size down. If you go back to a lot of other drawings that I've done in the past year, one of the things you will notice, and one of the things that comments have pointed out, is I draw my heads too big in proportion to the rest of the body. I think the biggest example was shortly after I posted Blood Red Riding Hood, was the Barbie Oppenheimer video. Especially look at Oppenheimer's head. He looks like a bobblehead. I'm finally seeing that, like, oh, okay, the head is too big. Let me bring that down a little bit. But I think I'm making the head too wide. Like, I know it's a 3/4 angle, so it's going back, but I still think like the head from the tip of the nose to like the base of the neck is still too far apart. I feel like I could probably bring that in a little bit more. And overall for this piece, I did want to go a lot more dynamic with what I did with it. So where the 2023 version had like an action pose of like Blood Red kneeling down and sticking her sword in the dirt, I wanted this one to be like there was movement in it. And so I couldn't really think of like a cool movement idea that involved both of them, but I finally came up with this idea of her riding the wolf, as it was a part of the story that I put in the 2023 video. And I think I might have bit off a little more than I can chew here in terms of the dynamicism. I feel like if I went with a more static yet action-like pose, I could see how I've improved in terms of anatomy a little bit more. But with the action pose and the body, like her pulling her arm back with the sword, it kind of put a little hole in the where I've grown, because dynamic poses are still a learning territory for me. And so I think that threw me off a little bit, because I definitely think like the arm in front holding onto the wolf is thicker than the arm holding the sword. But on the other hand, like the sword hand is supposed to be drawn back a little bit, so it's harder to tell, but looking at it, it does look a little off. But that being said, comparing the two pictures side by side, it's definitely apparent that my work has gotten a lot more detailed. For one, there are now muscle definitions in the character, whereas the 2023 version, it's just arm, shading on bottom, lighting on top, and any other shadows that needed. The new version this year has a lot more like muscles, like the bicep, the shoulder, all that. Like it's all connected together. There's shading all across the arm in different parts where there would be bumps in it. And overall, like there's more shadows, there's more lighting, there's better understanding of direction of the light, where it's coming from. And I've also been doing the thing where after I do all the shading in the different parts, I do another shading layer at like 30% opacity on multiply, and I just shade whatever's going on the back half, direct opposite of the lighting, to create just a little more of that depth to it. So like everything on this side of the artwork will not be hit by light, so it would be covered in some sort of shadow no matter what. And although I mentioned that like I haven't really done much with beasts and animals over the past year, I think the wolf came out so much better. Like when I did in 2023, I'm like, I haven't really done animals at all. So let me pull up a reference and see what I can do. On when I drew it, I'm like, hey, that looks very wolf-like. And then when I went back to it to study the painting before I started drawing this one, I'm like, that's a goofy looking wolf there. Like the first off, the eyes in the 2023 version are at 2 different angles. They're just like curved in at different degrees. And there's also no depth to the face. I do a lot more shading now, so I have the shading over the eyes that make that give the illusion of that like nose bridge, I guess you would call it, like the thing leading down to the snoot. If you compare it to the 2023 version, there's none of that. It's just like 2 lines and be like, and that's good enough. It wasn't. And finally, for the background, I wanted to do something different than what I've been doing in my last few background ones, which are usually just like, oh, several of the same thing cascading into the background. So in like the 2023 version, it was 1 layer of trees, 2nd layer of trees, 3rd layer of trees. But I wanted to do something different other than just trees going background. So I used the dynamic pose of the lunging wolf and blood red riding on top of it to reference another part of the story that I told last year, where the prisoner who was escaping fell down this kind of little hill thing, and blood red followed him. And although it was a hill and he kind of tumbled down it, I thought the wolf jumping off the cliff, which could be of any height, it's not specified, it could be like 2 feet, and the wolf's just like, ooh, ding, instead of just like, whoo. So let the cliff can be any height you desire. But I did that, and so now I have this, instead of just like flat trees, back, it's off to an angle now. So like you can see this cliff going into the background, and then just a little bit of forest on the top end of that cliff. I mentioned this in my Kaiju as Predator video that came out this week, hopefully. I was able to give a sense of depth to those backgrounds that I wanted to try again. I don't think it came out as well here. I think there were some choices with coloring and even shading a little bit that I could have done to mask that a little better. But I did add a blur on the more back half of the painting to kind of simulate that distance that I couldn't get otherwise. But thank you all so much for watching. It's really weird to see like the same concept redrawn almost 365 days apart, and just like, because when I do this week to week, I'm like, okay, this is cool. And some weeks I feel like my art is better than others, but comparing it from such a long time ago and after doing it on a weekly basis, it's really interesting to see not just where I've improved, but also how my style has changed in the past. Like working with Dempsey and Night of Arcane and Nerd and Popcross, like what things I've taken from them in terms of line art, rendering, flatting, all that stuff, and just like what new things I've adopted into my style based on like the games I play and the videos I watch. So it's really cool to look at this. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And, you know, I'm excited to see where the next year of KyngPin Creations brings us. for watching. It was really cool to explore my progress as an artist in the past year. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I do, and if you did, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you want to check out some of my other content, I'll have 2 videos posted on the screen right now for you to check out. Other than that, thank you all, and I will see you all in the video on Monday. Take care, everybody.